Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of EFCO's Talk at 5 o'clock. And today we're talking healthcare and AI again. But today, my very special guest is Milissa Campbell, and she's Chief Data and Analytics Officer and Healthcare Transformation Executive. She's been helping healthcare professionals to transform and embrace the power of AI in their internal and external operations. Milissa, I'm happy to have you here. Welcome to the show, and I'll let you talk a little bit and introduce yourself.
Excellent. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks so much for having me. So you did a great introduction. I feel like I just need to just say that ditto, but I think the piece that will be a good foundation to our conversation today is I've worked both on the operations side as well as on the analytics side. So I focus a lot on actionable and operationalizing AI that's real and measurable and all of those things, business adoption and such. And I've worked in startups and I've worked in, large big four firms. So I feel like that positions me well to understand what are the challenges that are being faced and what are great ways to solve them so that you don't have to learn from shortens the learning curve. So I always say that I fell into healthcare by accident. I have a very useful political science degree, and I was in college and got a job at a call center, a Medicaid call center, working overnight to answer the phones. And one night there was this book there called HEDIS 1.0. So that dates you for anyone who knows. And I thought it was interesting. I've always been math focused, and the nurse found out that I was interested. She hired me to be her data analyst. I really fell in love with quality improvement and not being a clinician, focused on data-driven healthcare, data-driven improvement, et cetera. And then that brought me up to really just focus on analytics and then move into as analytics advances and as the capabilities advance, we want the most advanced ways to do things, the fastest way, speed to value. And that obviously brought me straight to AI.
What was the first experience that when the ChatGPT came out, did you play it right away? And how did you discover the potential that it has? And again, ChatGPT is just a one aspect of the broad field
Right.
of AI. But I think that a lot of users can associate their first true introductions, especially the non-techie guys, to the ChatGPT experience.
Right. And so I wouldn't say I was an early adopter, but I was kind of midterm adopter. And probably like a lot of people, I started using it like just a Google, right? And I'd heard it described that there's this kind of evolution as well as generational approach to using any agentic or chat GPT. It's the using it as Google and then using it as a life coach. So, hey, I've got these ingredients. What can I cook for dinner? I got a trip from Phoenix. Can you plan it for me? All the hotels and the miles and the things like that. And then there's that level where you plug your life and use it as a platform. And when I heard that, it's what motivated me to really start thinking, okay, well, let me get to the second phase, using it as a coach. And so just starting to come up with things. And I was like, well, shoot, I don't know how to ask this question. Then I'm like, I'm just going to ask it how to ask the question. And that was probably the most epitome I received, which is it doesn't matter that I don't know if something's possible. The tool will tell me if it's possible. The tool will tell me how to do it. I can tell it, I don't have any coding. Talk to me like I'm a first grader. And, I was building automation apps over the weekend, and you don't have context, but anyone who knows me will giggle at that because it's not my sphere. Technology is not my sphere. So I think it was about paying attention to what was going on and then diving in, right? And just saying, oh, well, I don't want to just keep using it as Google. I mean, that's cool and it helps, but there's all these other things. And so now automation's a big part of our home, our family, our my day-to-day life, how I manage my business, and it's just there. And so I think that's a path that I followed for the personal and then getting into it in business and really thinking about what is possible and challenging businesses to think that way. Those pathways are kind of happening at the same time.
I love this, Melissa, because you bring the very fundamental questions. People's like, well, where do I go? And I know a lot of people would probably give me some hate for this. Which course do I take? where do I go to learn
Right.
AI? Right. And I said, listen, it's right in front of you. The best place to start is just to talk to even whatever platform you have, either ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Anthropic or Grok, whatever you are comfortable using, it is enough for you to get started and get curious. The challenge is to
Right.
shift from the fear into curiosity and start playing with this.
Absolutely. And you just hit a huge nail on the head, especially for some of our older generations. It's just pick it up and start using it. You can't break it. You can't blow up the world with it. No one's going to die if you don't use it right. So just use it. It's on your phone. Take 15 minutes out of TikTok and go on to ChatGPT and just see what's possible. I think that I know learning styles are different. And for some people, it may be they feel better about, well, I took a course, so now I know it. And that's great too, if that's your learning style. But the fear, overcoming that fear is your first hurdle, and just use it. You can't.
Absolutely. And then there's so many courses right now for free. And I figured I talked to several executives and I wanted to hear your side of the story too. When they come to me with the exact same question in 2025, like, Eva, what course do I need to take? And I was like, pretty much any. And honestly, you may not even need to take a course. Like, we don't have time to take courses. Tell us which one we need to take. And I said, listen, AI, the greatest gift that it can give us is the most valuable assets of all. It can give us back time. We need to invest the time to get the time back. And
Right.
it Right. requires 15 minutes of your time. And try to, like, again, I get a good example of the use cases. If you are cautious to use it for your personal coaching or business, start with your hobbies. Ask
That's
it
where
to,
I started. That's the app
yes.
that I built was for my side stuff. It had nothing to do with exactly.
And for the prompt engineering, there's bazillion questions and courses to prompt engineer. And if that's what you want to do as a change of the career to become a prompt engineer and professional build agentic AI workflows, by all means, you probably need to understand the prompt engineering concept. But for the general users, especially if you are far away from technical, asking ChatGPT to write the prompt for itself is the
Yes.
biggest life hack.
That is life changing. You're like, I don't know what kind of time loop warp I got into, but this is amazing. Yes. And eventually you get good enough at you see what it wrote and you're like, "Oh, okay." And you get used to the act as a and giving it the level of detail that's needed. And you were saying asking it for the prompt. Also, the courses, you can also ask it to give you a high level summary of all the training courses out there that it can reach, right? And what are the top 10 things, the leading AI training courses that say that I need to know about ChatGPT? That list will take you 15 minutes to read. You at least have a working knowledge of what it's capable of, some taxonomy, right? What is prompt engineering? What is and and you've probably taken half of the courses that are out there. You know what I mean? So I think, people who've worked with me have heard this story a million times, so I apologize when they listen to this. But I share this story a lot when I go in to do like sessions to gather requirements from clients. And I say, there was this company and they had a box, and the box had a yellow light and the box had a red light. And if you hit the button, the yellow light came on. If you flipped a switch, the red light came on. So then we went in there and we said, you can build whatever you want. The sky's the limit. Finances aren't a problem. Nothing's a problem. What do you want? What do you want? What can I get you that is, oh, I want a box with a yellow light and a red light and a button and a switch. Because even though their new thing had to look like their old thing. Right. And so I think that comfort level of thinking outside of that, right? Don't ask me for another box with a yellow light, red light, and button switch. I'm telling you, let's rebuild it. It might not even be a box, right? So that jump from I like my box with my button and my switch because I know how it works to I don't even need a box because that's already taken care of for me. That's a hard, I think, mental jump. And so I think that's relevant here, which is recreating Google is just underusing the power and the tool that you have in front of you.
Yes. And I love what you brought up. Is not the conversation is not really about AI at all. Is that unlock our creative side and unleash the power of whatever is possible and get out of
Yeah.
that comfort zone.
Yep.
Someone told me a while back that the greatest accomplishments in life lay on the other side of our fears. An AI example is one of the most powerful, I think, tools that we can have because it can get us the greatest accomplishment if we only overcome our boxed thinking and our fear of comfort. Sense of comfort and fear of pushing yourself out of that comfort zone
Right,
to get the greatest accomplishment in life, business, personal fulfillment, and just to have a better quality of life and get more time back. So, Melissa, can you tell us a little more about what are the, you've been coaching executives in healthcare industry and transforming healthcare as a whole through the information about empowering them with the tools of AI. What are the most common questions that you hear coming up over and over again?
the biggest one is when I walk in the door is, we have no idea where to start, right? We just don't know where to start. And that conversation usually goes something like, what keeps your CEO up at night? Right? We need to focus on solving a problem. Don't think about what platform am I going to get? What tool am I going to buy? What are the problems that need to be solved? Right? If you can make a collection of those problems that need to be solved, and then I walk them kind of down a pathway of the easiest problems to solve first are automation, right? And they work well because you can take one data rather than saying all of our data has to be 100% clean, which I don't know if anyone has ever seen that anywhere, certainly not in healthcare. You take one higher quality, relatively safe data source and automate one process. And that's the snowball effect, right? Now it's like, oh, you saved $1 million. You know, that $1 million is going to fund a great next project. It's going to, and so that first one is just pick a small, and they're usually not sexy. And I really emphasize that with them is everyone wants AI to be sexy. You know, I went into this organization and we built a platform on top, and they just kept saying, when can we see something? When can we touch something? What they didn't realize, what was going on in the background was amazing as far as the data cleaning and the data lineage and piping and all of that was being done with AI tools. And so we also get locked into sexy is AI is sexy and that's it, right? I want a robot who's going to come here and cook my dinner for me or something elaborate. So where to start is think about your problems. What do you need to solve? Think about ones that are solve administrative problems first. They're typically the easiest to solve because automation is probably the easiest foot dive, and then go from there. I also think those are good administrative tasks that aren't client facing or member facing or patient facing feel safer to them. Like if this screws up, it just disrupts my internal team. It doesn't disrupt care. It doesn't disrupt. So it's another way to overcome executive fear around, I don't know if this is right for us, et cetera. So that's the first one is we're overwhelmed. We don't know where to start. The next one is probably around, especially with smaller companies, but even mid-sized companies, we don't have the money. We don't talk about AI because we don't have the money for it. You don't need a $10 million platform to do AI, right? And so again, it kind of builds off the previous conversation, which is pick one problem and one data source and see what AI could do for your business, right? And that is a significantly less pennies on the dollar investment than your transformation. You're a year out from AI transformational projects if you're just starting now, assuming an aggressive calendar, right? So start small, don't let the price. We don't have the resources. Again, that's like, you've already made the first step. You've called someone in. Let us get you there, because part of what we want to do through change management too is AI literacy. Let's all use words the same way, right? Let's all be talking the same language about our own data. Alongside a build is always some literacy and stuff like that. I like to do those workshops up front, and we typically open with some sort of art of the possible. And that's more of me saying, here is some amazing, cool things you wouldn't believe can be done with AI and are being done. And I feel like that just kind of opens their minds a little bit, like, oh, okay. And it's amazing how quickly people go from, why would we use AI to, oh my gosh, here's the 10, when we leave, I want you to provide me with 5 things in your area that you think should be automated. And I'm getting lists of 15, 18 because they were able to open their mind and think bigger. So I think the questions were about how to get started, how to get it funded, and then what can it do, right? And so, at least in healthcare, I struggle a little bit. Healthcare, we talked about this the other day. Other industries tend to be about 10 to 12 years ahead of healthcare in data technology. There are pockets of healthcare that are advanced. I don't mean that to be, but industry as an industry on average. So we're just lagging sometimes. And so we're starting the conversation a little earlier in the maturity than we would with maybe another industry. And so, you know, I think that's why they feel like it's so far away. It's so far in the future. It doesn't apply to us. And anytime I hear that, I just shut it down. I said, AI is no longer philosophical. It's here. It's deployed. It's working. If you're not using it, if you're not already lagging your competitors that are, you soon will. It's not optional anymore. It's table stakes. And so I think those are the things we need to do to get them forward. I just answered the question one way, and I was wondering, was your question kind of what are their questions about AI as a whole or implementing AI? Because I really focused on implementing AI, but we can talk about the other side of that too.
I think it's kind of both, and you answered it beautifully because I see from the other industries the same questions because people would concern about the cost and where does it, I mean, I ask myself, where does it come from? Primarily because they say like, hey, so and so raised or spend gazillion, bazillion dollars on building LLM models. And I don't know how and why some
Right.
mid-sized, even enterprise customers feel that there's a desperate need to create their own proprietary LLM model built. I mean, this is
Right.
complete nonsense for the 90% of cases. Yeah. Especially when some smaller 20, $30 million businesses are like, we cannot touch AI until we can build our proprietary model. And because we're concerned about data security. And they don't understand. They only know like there's a chat GPT for $20 and there
Right.
is $1 billion
Billion
solution that
dollar
you buy in
platform. There's
yes, a
nothing in
billion-dollar
between.
plan. And there's so many options in between. And quite honestly, in 90% of the customers, even in the federal government agencies, they're using the fundamental models, the private LLMs, but they're powered by Google, Amazon,
Right.
OpenAI, Grok.
Yep.
They do not build the unique closed models. In most of the cases, unless it's a complete edge case, there's no need for any kind of level of complexity. Those models operate differently. They run on your private cloud. They allow you data security. And if for ultra secure needs, if you need to have an air gapped
Yep.
environment, for this is top tier security compliance, you can even do that even using Google platforms LLM models as well. So when the customer comes to us and say we need to build fundamental models ourselves, and we're building it and investing 10 months and thousands of dollars,
Yep. So you're not making any progress to build something that already exists. Yeah, and not only that, but those models are more proven and better and more trained. They're more advanced. So now you're going to build something. I hope you get everything mapped correctly. I hope I hope you what's in there is useful. You don't know. Training, really good training takes a while. So the model improves. You've got that training existing in a model already. It's I think to your point, there's an understanding of the black and the white and none of the spectrum in the middle of grays.
I love what you said that it takes the time after before they start, right? And after they finish talking to you, building the confidence. It's more of a building the confidence and understanding. AI literacy is much more important than your prompt engineering course.
Yes. Yes.
And
Start with
building the confidence before you start building complex solution. And when some of our customers come to us for conversational intelligence, say they want to have AI voice agents on their platform, and we look at their process, and you're like, you're honestly lighting years away from the conversational intelligence. Let's do something very simple
right.
and use the DocuSign agent that basically takes
Awesome.
the information and pass it on, and you don't have to log it in your DocuSign file. And they're like, "Oh my god." this is like a day and night. It's a light bulb that goes on, and people like, well, that's a power of agentic AI. And it's something so simple, but yet so powerful that saves hundreds of hours in frustration out of their box. So tell me a little bit more about the use cases that you see the most applicable in
Sure.
healthcare that you help your customers to navigate.
Sure. I want to put one more data point in our previous conversation, which was human in the loop. One of the biggest things in healthcare that clinicians and patients fear is AI is going to give me the wrong diagnosis and things like that. And I think that it's really important to make sure your clinicians understand, but also your messaging to patients is AI provides information, not diagnosis, right? AI provides insights. The human provides the trust and the action and the decision on the information. And so, and the insights that AI is providing are built on human approved, clinician approved protocols, clinical protocols. So it's not, we have these big cases being advertised about, oh, their AI agent denied care and da, da, da. And so everyone is freaking out about, well, I can't do, AI. There are companies that stopped funding AI because of that big case that's happening right now. And that is crazy to me, which is great. Learn from their mistake. Maybe not open on a complex set of questionable data, something that denies care and creates a liability for you. Maybe that's not a great place to jump out into the world. And so the human in the loop to me was a big piece. It's in all, but in healthcare, I just want to make sure we didn't miss that. And so you're talking about the use cases. So I wanted to make sure, I just wanted to get that data point into the last, sorry. Right now, I think that most right now, the ambient type of conversational stuff is the most interesting and the fastest growing and the most useful use case in healthcare. I think it is more for someone who's done some of the automation already so that they have some understanding of AI, but they don't have to be far down their journey. But that ambient listening, the amount of what it solves in our healthcare ecosystem, it allows clinicians to focus more time on top of their license, right? So right now, nurses are only spending on average 37% of their time at bedside care. That's not why they went to nursing school, is to spend a third of their time and 2/3 documentation. Let's get that over 50%, right? Let's give you more time spending time on patient care, less time on repetitive documentation. Working at the top of your license, I go in and I feel like I'm a data entry clerk when I have a clinical degree in training. Physicians too, right? Same thing. They're like, I have 12 years of higher education. There's got to be a better way to do this. And so that ambient listening to me is the one that's the most interesting, that's providing value the fastest, because I mean, immediately time is being given back, right? And you can not only quantify time giving back, you can quantify the cost of time. So there are several use cases where ROI is difficult to explain to a CFO who's very, right, very tangible and very, yes, and exactly, because it's based on quality and experience, and those aren't things that show up in the ledger. But, you start moving to some of these notes or automation of documentation, right? Those are the use cases right now that I don't want to say the most excited about, but I think give you the highest bang for the buck early. And again, when we talk to early stage companies, let's not focus on building anything, right? Let's focus on going out there. There's great platforms, Talk to Me is one, right? There's great platforms out there that are being used in healthcare already, that are proven, that maybe you're going to have to tweak, but that's going to take you way less time than building something. When you're starting small, look for an existing product. So the documentation automation, early projects are typically automation, right? Let's find an administrative task that we can automate. Claims, like you said, you were saying with the DocuSign, right? How crazy is that? That's such a little thing. And I think you said something that made me laugh. I talked about my journey and I had this epiphany moment where I went, ta-da! And it opened my eyes in a whole new world, right? I love it when I see executives or clients get that, wait, what? It can do what? You just cut time by how much? That's not r That's gotta be a calculation. I need to see that. Show me how you got to that. And they question it because it sounds too good. So I love watching them get that epiphany moment because right after that comes the, "I need to sit down with you and do a work session on all the other stuff that we can automate." And they get it, right? So automation are the smaller things, the ambient, predictive type of things. These are more advanced, predictive for chronic disease and case management, automating a lot of standard refills and things like that. Those automations, we've heard a lot about the diagnosis, leveraging x-rays to find various cancers or various problems that maybe are missed by the human eye. Those are where people start getting nervous. And I think, again, it goes back to the fact that AI just finds something that looks like something. A physician still needs to look at it and go, goodness, that is lung cancer and it's stage 4. And here's the protocol we're going to have to follow. And here's right. So, taking the speed of diagnosis down from 6 weeks and multiple tests. And I went on that journey with my mom and waiting for test results. And then they don't give us the answer and then waiting for test results. If we can cut that down to days, with a very well-defined, confirmed, absolute answer that a physician has made based on the insights from AI, that's it's not only life-saving, but for the caregivers and for the everything, it's life-changing. And so those are the more clinical applications. I think more advanced organizations are really focusing on that. But I would really encourage, especially for those who haven't started, start talking to experts, start talking to professional services, start talking to your teams, right? Find out what skill sets you do have in house. You should have an inventory of that to figure out the use cases because, in healthcare in particular, there is a lot of waste, so much waste. And so much of that can be fixed. And we talk about the quadruple aim in healthcare. So it used to be the triple aim. Now it's the quadruple aim. But what it says is the 4 aims of healthcare are better clinical outcomes, lower costs, better patient experience, and better caregiver experience. And that caregiver experience was the one that was added because we were realizing that to accomplish these 3, we were killing our clinical staff. And so when you think of the potential of AI to drive us towards, you don't ever achieve the quadruple aim, right? But those are the things that everything you do should be, does it address one of those challenges? And if you just think of it in that construct, you start coming up with, again, what other use cases? What's keeping you up at night? What's keeping your CEO up at night? So we talked about the ambient. I was trying to think, lots of behind the scenes stuff that, again, not very sexy. Data cleanup. Stop doing 8-month data governance projects. Oh my goodness. And I know I say that as someone who 20 years ago probably made money off of selling 8-month data governance projects, but it's not the way to do things right now, right? Very quickly understand the quality of all of your data sets and which ones you should start with because they're better quality and some suggestions of how to get the other ones cleaned up, right? Now you shorten your readiness for other AI 2 weeks instead of months, right? Just everything that's the construct. So I think in healthcare, the ambient listening, the virtual assistant as well. That's the other one talking about scheduling appointment, medication reminders, and all the things like that. Just stuff that, and everyone's like, well, isn't that just IVR? It's so different than IVR, right? And that's say I literally have the same response. I'm like, no, 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 no. And we always encourage our clients, be transparent that the patients are talking to AI. Don't try to pretend that it's not, right? We know younger generations tend to prefer digital first experiences anyways. And what we see in the surveys is older generations will accept digital experience first if they see value. Does it keep them from being on hold for 45 minutes to ask a simple question? Does it take the time to answer their questions and not make them feel like yeah, gotta go, gotta call the other 37 people, right? Like, does it really make you feel like it's taken the time to answer your questions? And so those virtual assistants are another great way to just see immediate value. Let your clinicians work at the top of their license. Make your clients just feel better, right? I just have a simple question, benefits questions. Oh my gosh, a health plan. What they could do if they would use virtual assistants to Answer benefit questions.
Yeah, and that's a great example because we're in a human service, right? The
Right.
healthcare touches us as a human beings more than any other industry does. Ultimately, the level of frustration that I hear in every conference that I speak, and like, who loves the IVR button, press one, two, three?
Agent, agent,
Everybody.
agent, 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 agent.
And I understand, I get it. There's two types of conversations what we usually have. It's a transactional one and an emotional one. And
Yes.
both of them requires a certain type of response. And then a transactional, you just need to get through that. The IVRs, the traditional IVRs, create a frustration because it delays the transactional completion. You have to either stay on hold or, I mean, honestly, I don't have, maybe I have an ADHD, but after the fifth round, you lost me. Like I hung up. I talked to some of the contact centers managers. They say their drop off in IVR is over 60%. People just hang up and are like, I'm done. I don't have time for this. Like, it's just frustrating and I lose the track. And usually try to multitask. Like, when I
Me too.
called, I'm driving and I'm like, what button do I press? Like, what? It's
Yeah.
not that's not my option.
Or they come on and they startle you. You're like, "Oh,
Yes. And the second one is the emotional one when you want to feel heard and understood and you have a concern, right? You get a medical procedure. Is it a normal side effect? Oh, by the way, I haven't seen the bill. Or can I reschedule an appointment as a follow up? Or can I leave a note? Usually, those is, oh, just leave a voice message. Somebody will call you at some point of time. Maybe, maybe not.
days.
And it takes days and it takes time from the resources and it gives the builds up the frustration. With today's technology, that can be eliminated almost completely. And with a very personalized assistance or intelligence, a conversational intelligence, you can do the outbound calls to reach out and just a courtesy call, check in, right? On any language. And then again, like we haven't talked about the accessibility of AI. We
Right.
live in a multilingual environments.
Yep.
Patients have English as a second language. Hey, it's English is not a first language.
Right.
It creates the barrier of understanding when you want to feel heard, you want to feel that your problem is fully understood and translated to the doctor, to the nurse, and they feel the empathy. And then now we can build that technology, key differentiator between the traditional IVR that actually pushes you through the buttons all the way to creating the solution where the patients can feel heard, understood, and get them to their results faster. You can cut those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get to what you need to get answered quickly in a conversational intelligence. Right.
Right.
And then people ask me, like, well, Eva, we just still need to have a human in a loop. Of course. Of
Yes.
course.
Yes.
Every single conversation needs to be you know, monitored. It can be interjected with a human resource, can be transferred to a human resource. Because again, we all come from a different perception of AI conversations. Some of them are open to this, some of them are not, and give patient an option. Do you want to stay on hold for 30 minutes until our representative is available? Or we can help you this way and get you off your way faster
Yep. Yep.
and give them a option to choose rather than pushing them through the endless buttons. I have a personal story that it irritates me all the time, and maybe one day my, pediatrics office will hear this. I have the same pediatrics office since my children were born, and I'm not interested in changing the pediatric office just for that. But there's one thing drives me completely insane every single time when I have one of my kids running a fever and I want to get the sick clinic check-in. They have a policy to protect other patients, which I totally respect, to make sure that you have assigned to a room number. So you need to call the phone number,
I gotcha.
wait until they give you an assigned room before they let you in the office. And the wait time is 20 to 30 minutes.
With a sick child.
So I know for sure that my drive is about 20 minutes away. I start calling, pretending like I'm in a parking lot because they ask you.
Are you in the park?
Damn, I am.
Absolutely.
And they would not let you in until you have an assigned ticket. And that drives me crazy. And again, it takes me about 25 minutes to get there. And so 25 minutes, we're listening to the most beautiful music that sounds very familiar for already 13 years of my life. Same one, doesn't change until someone picks up, and all they do is just to give me a number. And that for me is the mind blowing.
Mind blowing.
My daughter, who's gonna be soon 10, she's like, "Mom, why didn't you give them like the AI? You need to give them an AI agent because even she gets annoyed with this." And I
Right?
understand the process of this, but this simple things, again, the beauty of that it doesn't
So
cost.
simple.
It is simple thing that it makes a big difference in people's
Yep.
experience.
Yep. And the policy's well intended. The policy's well intended makes sense. It's that effect of the policy that, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I'm curious, do you talk to your clients about the other side, how the impact of the enhancements affect their patients and customers? They
Absolutely.
rate how they're recipient of this. Some people want to share the information like, oh, what happens to my data when I talk to AI or conversate chat with AI? What fears and concerns do they get from their patients? And do they even high is this on their priority list to ensure that their
Sure.
customers
Sure.
getting better quality care?
So two things I think work in my advantage. One, having spent the first half of my career in operations, in quality of care, quality of service, I think I'm acutely tuned to that. My role on an AI project is strategy, use case development, build, happens somewhere else, and then implementation, operationalizing it. So it's important to me that whatever we put here can be implemented here, or I look like a bozo at the backside, right? So I have a vested interest in that working. And so when we talk about that, the good thing about working in healthcare is clinicians are innately wired as humans as well as trained to think patient first, right? And so they went into this career because they're wired that way. And they've been trained patient care first, patient care first. So it's actually an easier conversation to have with them about impact on their members or their patients or, whatever they refer to them as. We always want to talk about impact and effect and okay, so this was the previous user journey, this will be the new user journey. Here's when you're going to implement conversational type AI or bots or anything like that, there's guardrails that I suggest they put in place. The first and foremost is that you have to be transparent that you're using it, right? Do not try to pass it off as a human engagement. You've lost the trust and now no one wants to talk to your AI bot. It should always be some sort of tiered. Here are the questions that are tier 1. AI can absolutely answer them. Here are the ones that are tier 2 that may require some further, farming. And tier 3 is automatic straight to a human. And at any tier, they have a right to go to a human and immediately. Right. And so that's kind of the first thing on the front end. On the back end, engagement and adoption by the patients is 100% dependent on the value they see from the interaction. Did they get their appointment scheduled and they showed up and people were expecting them and they knew they were coming and it wasn't dropped by the stupid bot and it wasn't, you know what I mean? Did they still have to wait 45 minutes on the phone? So if they called and said, "Hey, I'm using this AI agent. I'm going to schedule my appointment," and they go in and it runs smoothly and it runs on time, they're going to see value in that. And not only are they going to say, "Oh, I'm going to do that. That's way better than sitting in the parking lot for 25 minutes waiting for a number," right? Why would I ever do that again? I will happily talk to the AI. But if that goes south, so you don't have a high threshold of what is perceived to be failure. So when we're setting these up and we're training them, you've got to be constantly thinking about that, right? There has to be trust, or if they don't trust it, you've lost them. I tell I tell companies a lot, you are not competing against other healthcare companies. You are now competing against every other experience that that person has in their life. So just because we're relatively in some spots antiquated and still using paper in some places and faxing and waiting, putting people on hold for this long, they're not comparing you to the other provider down the street that does that. They're wondering why you don't work like their bank that allowed them to lock their card on their phone, took a second, right? Moved money, da 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 da, or Amazon, which gave them some ideas of stuff that they liked and anticipated their needs, and that's what they're comparing you to. So not only do you look about the same as other healthcare, that's not what's in their head. that's who your competitors are. So you've got to think bigger than your healthcare competitors because that's how your patients are thinking. And if you're in a metropolitan area where there's a ton of competition for patients, especially in the kind of the GP and, the general stuff, they're just going to go elsewhere and they're going to go to practices that are using those tools. They are because they're being used.
Absolutely. You said something very important to me that you're not competing against another providers. You're competing in experience that other people are getting elsewhere.
Yeah,
And some companies, and that's one of the
globally.
core aspect I think that I really want our listeners to kind of sink in, regardless of their industry, is your customer success and customer experience is the number one trading aspect in winning the competition market. It's not against who gives the better candy, right? In an outcome, is that what kind of experience as a whole provide to your customers, regardless if you're in a healthcare and in financial services or an insurance vertical. And the beauty of that once you solve one problem with an AI, it can help not only your external customers, but also help your internal customers, which
Yeah.
are employees as well.
The fourth part of the trip of the quadruple aim, right? The caregiver experience, the clinician experience.
I'm this recipient of the healthcare, and I'm completely puzzled why we're still doing paper forms in multiple aspects. Feels again,
Every
I'm
time. Every time.
every time. And I was like, well, because what is the cost of doing nothing? Right. And I think that's what they don't understand because, well,
Right.
because patients keep on coming. Who cares? I don't need to invest in anything in AI or any automations. We've been doing this for 30 years. Patients keeps on coming. They still need service. Why do I need to change?
So the advantage you're going to see financially in your practice is one. But here's the other thing. This has been studied and we have seen that practices that run efficiently, run smoothly, have minimal, challenges that come from scheduling and things like that. Actually, patients go more frequently to get their health concerns addressed, which means they're healthier, which means they are, that's not about a finance model. That's about your patient population being healthier, things being caught sooner, earlier diagnosis, not transmitting the flu that you just caught because you don't know that you have the flu or whatever. So we definitely see a higher compliance rate with medical follow-up care for practices that run better. And better follow-up, better engagement by patients means better outcomes. We are in a value-based care world right now. Providers are being paid on the value of their clinical outcomes. You want to get the highest reimbursement from a health plan, you need to have better outcomes. You need to have higher, immunization rates. You need to have higher mammogram rates, screening rates, all these things. And if you don't, you get less reimbursement from health plans. That's huge. You know how you get those things is you run a tight ship. At the end of the day, and this started back when I was working in HEDIS and star ratings, and everyone's like, what's the silver bullet? What's the magic potion? There isn't one. Do the basic things well, right? Answer the call quickly. Don't make them wait. Give accurate information quickly and the first time. Have check-in go as expected. Be on time. Like it's all the basic things. That's the silver bullet. Rigor around the basics. You know what gets you there? AI. That's the silver bullet now. That's the silver bullet now. Yeah.
It's a compound effect. Small little
It
things
is.
in multiple industries make the compound effect that transforms the entire experience, transform entire
Exactly.
practice, and makes the business run smoother. Melissa, it's
Right.
been a wonderful talking to you, and
Absolutely.
you gave me some deep thoughts, and hopefully our listeners kind of start wondering and experimenting. Whatever this journey stage they're in, AI is inevitable. It's a broad
Right.
field, and partner with people and ask questions. There's no bad questions. Talk to people, follow them on social media, ask, reach out, learn and educate yourself. We're in a new business of lifetime learning for all of us in order to survive and thrive in AI era. Last
Absolutely.
couple of words for the listeners. What was the kind of number one advice you would give to all of your future or existing customers who are in a journey of adopting AI?
I think that AI is not going to remove the human, it's going to elevate the human. So if you want a workforce of elevated humans producing elevated work and elevated outcomes, AI is for you. If you're okay being mediocre and lagging behind the industry and eventually becoming antiquated, outdated, and a fossil, well, then maybe AI is not for you.
Yeah, that's a great ending conversation. Melissa, it's been my pleasure. Hopefully, we'll catch up
Absolutely.
another time. And again, thank you for being a guest on our show.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.